I recently decided to test all of the various PCIe power cables that I had, kind of in an effort of figuring out, is there really a difference between these? You know, is it worth the upgrade? Is it more of a visual thing? Kind of along those lines. I wanted to go through those motions and see, from at least from my results, kind of the direction that I want to head on future rig builds. And so today I tested this on a Mini Doge Pro miner, which these are notoriously known for pulling a lot of wattage through the PCIe connector. And this only has a single connector, and these units I think pull around 205 watts is what they're rated to pull. That's a lot of power to be pulling over one 6-pin connection. To the fact that if you take a look at this breakout board, you can actually see a lot of burning on this pin. This was actually done by this Mini Doge Pro. So it ended up burning through that. I also had one that the end completely melted to the board. Couldn't even remove the end after that, so I just tossed out the board. Today the way that we're going to test this is I have an infrared thermometer, and I've got a 750 watt HP power supply with a parallel miner breakout board. For all the tests we use the same port here, obviously the same port on the miner, and we did around 15 to 20 minutes ramp up before we took any readings. And I did capture all the readings, but before I go over the readings, I do want to cover the cables that I did test. So starting off, this is actually the cable that you would get if you buy the Deep in the Mines breakout boards, any of their kits. You can get these on eBay, you can get these on Amazon, but these orange and black is what comes with the Deep in the Mines breakout boards. Next up, this one, which is, it looks very similar to parallel miner, being the yellow and the black. However, it is kind of a flat cable, and this is S-Union. You can get their breakout board kits on Amazon relatively cheap, and they are prime. And that's how I came across these. And we're going to be testing that. We also have, I'm one of the few people that have a SoonTech. And if you're not familiar with the SoonTech, it's essentially a 3 PSU backplane for HP server power supplies. And it's basically a housing that has PCIe connectors on the back of it all the way down, and then it stacks 3 PSUs high. They come with these cables, and they are a very thin cable. Probably, if I had to guess, this is probably like 20 gauge. It's not very thick at all, but we went ahead and tested this one as well. All the reviews that you see on those units say don't run this cable. I've never actually ran these cables until I did this test today, and so we'll be taking a look at the results of those. We also have a cable from Chain Critical, so we're going to be testing this. This is going to be a 6-pin to 6+2, and the only one that is actually 6 to 6 is this one, and this is from the Veteran Miner. And so we've got a 6-pin on both sides on this one, and that's because I only had 6-pin to 6-pin. When I originally ordered these from Veteran Miner, it was actually to use with the SoonTech hooking up to some gold shell miners. So those are all the cables that we're testing with today. And the way I took the readings was, after it heated up, I took a pin reading from the ground pins here. I also took a wire temperature reading, which is kind of the middle of the wire. And then I took another pin reading from in here using the same ground end that I took from this side. So all of the readings were done in the same way on all the cables. All the cables were given about a 15 to 20 minute ramp up. And what we ended up with was the deep in the mines, which is the yellow, or the orange and black rather, is we ended up with 38 degrees Celsius coming from the board and 37 degrees Celsius coming from the miner, with the cable only being around 28 degrees. Moving on to the S-Union, which is that flat cable, we were significantly cooler at the board. And actually, before I talk about the S-Union, the deep in the mines, this is actually the cable that caused the melting here. So this one was definitely running warm. I was expecting poor results with this compared to the other ones. So the S-Union ran actually 6 degrees cooler at the pin. So it was 32 degrees at the pin. The wire temperature, however, though, the exterior wire temperature was about the same at 28.5 degrees Celsius. And at the miner, it was about 2 degrees cooler at between 35 and 35.5 degrees Celsius. Moving on to the SoonTech. And this one, as expected, the temps were extremely high on this. So at the pins on the board, it was around 41.5 degrees Celsius and 40 degrees Celsius at the board, and the exterior wire was running at 35 degrees Celsius. It was extremely warm to the touch. You could feel the heat radiating off of it. I didn't want to run it longer than I had to because I really did feel like that cable was about to melt. Moving on to chain critical. So with the chain critical and the veteran miners, when we did the exterior temp, it's really not a wire temp. It's the temp of the braiding. So if the wires heat up, the braiding will get a little warm, but just keep that in mind that it is the braiding temperature. So at the board, we were at 33 degrees, so about 1 degree warmer than the S-Union cable, which was interesting. The shielding obviously was cooler at 26 degrees. And at the board, we were at the miner, we were at around 34.5 degrees Celsius. So that was, approximately 3 degrees cooler than the deep in the mines, and about 1 degree cooler than the S-Union at the miner. Moving on to the veteran miner cable. We were slightly cooler from the chain critical by about half a degree at the board. So we pulled 32.5 degrees Celsius at the board. The wire was actually a degree warmer than the chain critical. So we took a temperature reading of about 27 degrees. And again, this was on the green sheathing. Not sure if that sheathing makes a difference or not. And at the miner, it was about 1.5 degrees cooler than the chain critical. So we were at 33 degrees Celsius at the miner. And the final one is the parallel miner one. And this one actually surprised me. I didn't think it would actually perform this well, but it did. And so at the board, we actually got the coolest temperature, and it was the same as the S-Union, being 32 degrees Celsius. So it was about 0.5 degree Celsius cooler than the veteran miner cable, and a whole degree Celsius cooler than the chain critical. The wire temperature was 28, so pretty good there. And the temperature at the miner was 35 degrees Celsius. So this is where things get a little bit different, in that the parallel miner is going to run a little bit cooler at the board, but by the time it hits the miner, which is actually trying to draw the power, it's heating up quite a bit. So the veteran miner cable was 2 degrees cooler at the miner than the parallel miner cable. Chain critical was about 0.5 degree cooler at the miner. The S-Union and the deep in the mines and also the SoonTech obviously, were all hotter at the miner side of things. So this is a very small sample set. We just tested one of each cable. We used the same miner, Again, only pulling 200 watts here, which is still a substantial amount, given that, you know, these cables are technically not rated for that. I'm not going to give any direct recommendations. I'm just going to throw out those numbers and kind of let you make up your mind. I haven't checked pricing on these recently. A lot of these I've had around for a while. I do know that the braided cables will obviously be a little bit more expensive than the regular wires. However, just take the numbers that are presented to the screen and kind of roll with it on how you see fit. Just kind of wanted to put out this quick video to go over my results, kind of what I saw. The nice thing I was seeing is that whether you go with parallel minor, chain critical, veteran minor, all those numbers are pretty close together. And again, we're trying to pull 200 watts over this specific minor. So if you're looking to use these in an open air rig, if you're looking braided, I personally like the braided. It's a cleaner look. You don't have to worry about wires, you know, like coiling up, things like that. So I do like the braided wires better. It'll really come down to probably a cost basis on, you know, which one you think is best for you. I don't have affiliate links with any of these. I don't have coupon codes or anything. Just if you search out on eBay or Amazon, or you can go to Chain Critical's website or the Veteran Miners website, you can see the pricing for all the items. I do know there are other YouTubers that do have discount codes available for some of those platforms. So I definitely recommend supporting those content creators if you are in the market for picking up some cables.